Hello, beautiful people. Hope you all are doing very well today. Welcome back to the Young and Independent Show, where we discuss a variety of topics to help young folks live lives that are spiritually fulfilled, lives that are value added, lives that are less materialistic, and lives that are financially independent. I'm your host, Sil, and today I want us to talk about graduating from trials to triumphs. And it's about the story of Evelyn Chumbo. So Evelyn was born and raised in Cameroon until the age of 9. So during that time, Evelyn was living with her mom and her 6 siblings. Her dad was more or less an absentee father because he was an alcoholic and he was hardly ever there. Her mom was struggling to raise all 6 of them on her own. And you all know, people, if you're from Cameroon and listening to this, you know how tough that can be. Taking into account the economics or the economic circumstances of the country. And it's no news that families that find themselves in such a tight angle tend to distribute their kids amongst relatives in the quest to lighten the weight off their shoulders, and give the kids potentially a brighter future that they, the parent, didn't think that they could offer to that child. My father was sent off to his uncles when he was much younger. My mom tells me at the age of 4. So it's not uncommon for poor families to send their kids to relatives whom they think are well off and who can provide for their children in one way or the other. Now, for Evelyn's case, she was sent to an uncle. And Evelyn says that while she was at her uncle's, there was a lady who visited her uncle on a particular day, and she was told that, this auntie is from the US. At the time, she was excited. She was like, wow, this auntie, oh my God, auntie here from the US, did you, the impression that she has of the United States is what we all had growing up before we ever ventured, on a trip abroad. You see all these beautiful houses, this beautiful imagery that they portray of their country, of their continent on TV, which we consume. That's the impression that Evelyn had. And so she was excited to see this auntie who had come from the US. Little did Evelyn know that she was about to be taken away into some sort of modern slavery. So this lady was asking Evelyn's uncle that, are you sure she's old enough for the job? And Evelyn said at the age of 9, she was like, why is she asking my uncle this question? She was pondering with her, childish mind, obviously at the time. What would you know? My son is 9, and if he hurt someone, this lady was looking at Evelyn in front of her and asking her uncle with whom she was living at the time, are you sure she's old enough for the job? And she sort of opened her mouth, checked her teeth, checked her eyes, her ears, sort of examined her like you would examine a chicken in a market before you buy it, or a cow before you buy it. That's how Evelyn said the lady looked at her from head to toe, turned her around, sort of examined her physical appearance. And so her uncle said, yeah, she'll be good enough. And she was wondering all along, what are these guys talking about? Little did she know that she was about to be taken to America by a certain Mobang, Mrs. Mobang. Now, Evelyn left the shores of Cameroon for the US with this lady. And from the age of 9 until the age of 17, this young woman didn't have access to her family back home, and she was being tortured. She was made to cook and clean for this lady who took her to the US. She was sexually abused during that time. She got beaten beaten so terribly, and she recounts that this lady will hit her so much until she's tired of hitting her before she stopped. And she's got all these scars on her body. This is the United States of America we're talking about, richest country in the world. Evelyn stayed until the age of 17 when she decided to run away. Hear me out. She ran away. She didn't stay there and say, oh gosh, I'm going to die here. She masterminded a plan and she ran away. So from 9 until 17, Evelyn never went to school. She never boarded the bus. She never lived the life that most of us back home in Africa even enjoyed. Because a lot of times we say, oh, I want to go to bush. But what are you walking into? Do you really know what bush is made of? And I said in my previous podcast that don't venture to travel out of your country back home in Africa if you don't have a plan. Don't do it. You will end up in a very deep pit and you will be sorry for yourself. Evelyn was trafficked. She was a child. She went through all this traumatic experience, took the bull by the horn, ran to a church. The church contacted authorities, and through her testimony, this lady was sent to 17 years in prison by the FBI. After their investigation and everything, they sentenced her. And obviously, Evelyn didn't have any family in the US, so she was homeless, basically. And she was put into foster care, as it is done in this part of the world when a child doesn't have, in quote, his or her own biological parents looking after them in a way that is befitting or in a way that aligns with the requirements of the state. The child will be taken away and put into foster care. Foster care, for those who do not know, means you are giving to parents who have been appointed by the government to look after you, or a parent. Sometimes it's just one person, a lady or a man. But a foster care means being with people you're not related to, people who get paid a minimum amount by the government to look after you. She was in that setup. And Evelyn, she says that area, or the area where her foster home was situated, was a really dangerous area. She says that it was full of drug dealers, bad guys, drug addicts, prostitution, gang members and stuff like that. Too many bad influences for a girl who has been locked indoors and enslaved for 9 years. That's not a good environment, basically. But this is what Evelyn said. She said, I refuse to let that environment get the best of me. That's what I'm talking about. She said, I refused to let that environment get the best of me. And the last podcast I appeared on, it was a US podcast, SCM podcast. I said to the host that our success is 100% dependent on us. I mean, Evelyn, she could have just fallen into prostitution herself. I mean, that's the easy way out, isn't it? She would have started doing drugs herself. But hey, she said, and I quote, I refused to let that environment get the best of me. Evelyn decided to go to school. So during, when you're 9, you start from 1 Cameroon standard. From 1 until when you're 17, you should be getting into university. But she hadn't gone to school all these years. So in the US, if you haven't gone to school and you want to get a high school diploma, you have to get a GED. It's called a GED. So she enrolled in school and got her GED. She did it at a regular high school. In 2008, after she got her GED, she enrolled into a community college where she got an associate's degree after 2 years. This is Evelyn taking her trials to her triumph. These are the steps that she took. I want you to listen clearly so that if you've ever been through a traumatic experience like Evelyn's, it mustn't be child trafficking. It can be an abusive relationship. It could have been that you lost a parent or your parents. It could have been that you became unwell and incapacitated. What can you do with your current situation? How can you move from those trials that you faced and take baby steps like Evelyn? A journey of 1,000 miles, they say, begins with a step. Evelyn went on after her associate's degree. She attended. She went on to obtain a bachelor in Homeland Security. Now, one of the things that when I was doing research on Evelyn, one of the things that really, really got me was the fact that Evelyn, not only was she a go-getter, but she was passionate about changing the lives of other people who have been through the pain that she's been through. I said to someone that when you've been through such pain, I was having an argument about people making excuses that, because I was abused, that's why I became an abuser. That's a very flimsy excuse, in my opinion. Nothing about being abused is cool. If you were so hurt while you were being abused, why would you abuse anyone else? That's the $1 million question. Why would you feel that you can inflict that pain on someone else if you were so, hurt and upset by what happened to you? Why do you want to do it to someone else? So Evelyn, she didn't try to find another younger girl to pimp, which is what most people do. She wanted to get better and she wanted to do something to reach back to those who have suffered the same abuse as her and say, hey, I see you, give me a hand. She got a Homeland Security bachelor degree. And when she was invited to the UK, so Evelyn had been going around the world talking about her ordeal, okay? And one of the appearances that changed her trajectory, I would say, is when she went to a Thomson and Reuters Foundation's Trust Conference to speak about her experience. That was taking place in London at the time. Evelyn obviously spoke about her experience. People looked sad and all that, and she said, hey, I see you. But I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I'm not here to make you cry for me. But I want to tell you that I've been through these things already. And victims of trafficking don't need your pity. We need to be integrated into society. We need to feel that we are seen. We need to feel that we are part of a community. We need jobs. Hey, heck, when she got the mic, she was like, I don't want your pity. The opposite of what many of us seek when we feel that we've been dealt, a shorthand of cards. We start to feel pity for ourselves. We start to seek pity. We swim in pity. We find comfort in pity. But Evelyn, she wasn't having it. Just like, don't feel sorry for me because that doesn't pay my bills. I'm going around talking about my story and you all are listening and saying, oh gosh, the poor thing. Poor thing doesn't make me eat. I need a job. She made an open appeal. You should watch that video. It's on my website. I wrote an article about her. When I came across her story, I had to write about it because many of us back home in Africa are going through the same thing that Evelyn went through in one shape or form. Consider your situation as Evelyn's. And I encourage you to take these baby steps. Evelyn asked. You don't get what you don't ask for. This is biblical. The book of James chapter 4, the Bible says that we have not because we ask not. Evelyn took the chance. She was in front of a room full of white, influential guys who We're trying to use her story for their CSR, corporate social responsibility. Thomson Reuters is a very powerful institution. You should Google it. She said, give me a job. A couple of days later, she got a job offer, an internship from a law firm called Baker and McKenzie. Evelyn took the opportunity and she ran with it. When she joined Baker and McKenzie, she started advocating on behalf of people who have survived trafficking. She could have done anything else, but she said, hey, this is my trial. I'm going to take it to triumph. And as if that wasn't enough, guess what, guys? God worked in mysterious ways. Evelyn was invited to the White House. So look at it. Look at it this way. Your husband is beating you up. Okay, you're suffering physical, emotional, and verbal abuse. You'll finally get out of that marriage. This person is convicted. What do? Do you go on to become an abuser like R. Kelly? This is what happened to R. Kelly. R. Kelly was abused as a boy and he went on to become an abuser because he used young girls. What is your situation and how can you turn it around to be something fantastic? And when I was doing research on Evelyn's story, I was asking myself, does God really have to bring us this far in order for us to really serve the purpose for which he has put us on this earth? This is the question I was asking myself. That is this really God's way of putting Evelyn on the limelight? Evelyn got invited by President Barack Obama at the time. And in 2015, wait for it, she got nominated by the president himself, appointed to the United States Advisory Council on Human Trafficking. She was a capacity member of the council. She worked with the FBI. She worked with the Department of Homeland Security of the United States. She worked with the Department of Justice of the United States. Can you imagine? She has testified before the Senate Committee of the United States and she helped Congress to pass a bill preventing sex trafficking and improving opportunities for youth in foster care. Wow. I mean, just think about it. Evelyn is not the only girl who has been trafficked, girl or boy. But how many names of individuals who have been trafficked have you heard? How many stories? How many of such stories have you heard of young people or children who have been trafficked and have decided to turn the tides around? I want you to look at Evelyn as a hero. Don't take these things that she's accomplished so far for granted. It takes work. Although she continues to heal, which is going to take a lifetime, but she's not sat there sobbing and feeling sorry for herself or seeking our pity. She's out there doing what she has to do to get what she wants to get, to fulfill her potential on what God has possibly, that's my thinking, put her here on earth to do. And like Sarah Jakes rightly said, she said that at the age of 13, she got pregnant. I mean, if you're following Sarah Jakes like I am, you would see the wonderful things that she's doing out there based on her ordeal. Sarah got pregnant at the age of 13. Imagine the daughter of the almighty Bishop Jakes. Pregnant, 13. Can you imagine? And Sarah often recounts that she just wanted to disappear. She made herself invisible. But when she decided to pick herself up and say, hey, I'm not going to let this define my future, she's doing wonderful things. And one of the things that Sarah said that marked me was that we have to use our leftovers. She said, some of the greatest people that have walked the earth went through one or two traumatic experiences, and they used their leftovers. They used their leftovers to impact the world in a way that they will never be forgotten. Evelyn will never be forgotten. Evelyn is currently mentoring other victims. Evelyn has now got a family. She's got her son. But she says that she will make it her life ambition and purpose to work for those who have survived human trafficking. We're talking over 40.3 million people being trafficked around the world. And the trafficking business, that industry, is estimated to be worth $150 billion. So, guys, when her uncle trafficked her or sold her to this woman, guess how much he was paid? $2,000. People sell other humans to humans for $2,000. But what Evelyn is doing today is what each and every one of us can do. We can pick up ourselves and we can turn the tides around. I am an example of using my leftovers to make something out of my life. My father died when I was 16. I was exposed to a world where preys were looking for young women as their predators. I was exposed to a world of viciousness and the hurt of polygamous situations. My car was sabotaged. I don't think I've ever said this before. I've been through quite a lot. I went through a lot at a very young age. And today, all the things I'm trying to do is because of what I've been through. And I know, and I preach financial independence because I know that if people have got their money, why would an uncle sell his niece for such cheap amount of money if he had any? Why? Why would anyone do that? He was broke. He needed the cash. That's why I say that financial independence is the ultimate. The Bible has even said it. Wine, a party is good, wine is merry, but money surpasses all things. It is in the Bible. Be as religious as what? But if you're broke, you will be tempted to be bribed. You will be tempted because there's nothing we can do in this world without money. So I preach financial independence on purpose. Young people have to become financially independent. That's how I was set free. That's how I got out of that space. That's how I got better. And that's how I was able to come back and reach out to the rest of you all listening to me right now. That's how it works, guys. You have to make sure your cup is full. And then what overflows is for everyone else. I had to work on my personal development, which is what Evelyn did. She went to school and got her GED. She went and got her diploma. She went and got her bachelor's. She went and got a job. And then she said, you know what? Now I can reach out to everyone behind me and say, hey, let me mentor you for free. She's doing a lot of pro bono. Hey, let me be able to, see you through therapy. Hey, let me go around telling my story. Hey, let me go to Congress and testify so that all these laws can be passed to help children in foster care and to help people who have been trafficked. She started to work on her personal development. She started to heal. You have been abused. You have been raped. You have lost a parent at a tender age. You have lost your fortune. What are you doing to get better so you can reach out to use your leftovers? To use your story, what is left of you, to serve humanity. When Evelyn started to serve humanity, the money followed. I want to imagine that Evelyn is financially independent today. of all these fantastic things she's doing, I want to imagine that she's better off financially and she doesn't have to steal for food like she did in the past when she was starved by her trafficker. I encourage you all to emulate the example of Evelyn. Maybe, just maybe, God allowed you, just like He allowed the Israelites to pass through the hands of the Egyptians. Just maybe He let you go through all that trauma because He had a purpose for you. Because He wanted you to be strong and experienced enough to be able to meet your full potential and live the life that He put you here on earth for. Just maybe. Don't beat yourself down. It's not the end of the world. There is God. He sees you. He knows you. And in the book of Jeremiah, the Bible tells us, I'll sing it. Chose you before you were born, and before I gave you life, I selected you to be a prophet to the nations. Chose you before you were born, before I gave you life. I selected you to be a prophet to the nations, said the Lord. Were you selected to be a prophet to the nation? What is your mission? God chose you. He sees you. He knows you and He loves you. Will you answer the call? God is waiting. Mankind is waiting. If you don't do it, no one else will be able to do it. It's unique to you. It's your calling. You alone can fulfill that wish that God has. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I really hope you did. Because Evelyn's story just shifted my mindset and empowered me to continue to do what I'm doing. If you loved it, please leave a comment in the comment section. Subscribe to our podcast so that you can receive notifications. And please, 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 please share it with all your friends. This message may reach someone who has indeed been going through a lot. Someone who was just about to commit suicide. Someone who was... I got a message, by the way, before I close. I got a message. I'm going to share that message. From someone who said to me, oh my goodness, just when I was about to give up, I came across your podcast. I've been listening to them. And they've given me a new reason to leave. I've repaired my bike. I've done this. I'm working on this project. I'm working on this business plan. I'm so excited to share it with you. I wish my friend who lost his mind because of what he lost. This guy, his friend, wrote a public exam, used his last money for those who in Cameroon. 3 million is a lot. If you're not working, his life savings, he bribed, the money got lost, and he didn't get into the institution that he wanted to get into. He lost his mind, and during the Anglophone crisis, his friend got shot and he died. And he said, how I wish my friend had the chance to listen to your podcast. Guys, I hope, I know I'm not popular yet, but I feel that, with consistency, even if it's just one person that I'm able to touch and change their life, I want to do it every single day. I'm going to turn up and I'm going to do it because I believe in my heart of hearts that this is what God has put in me, and I am not going to be intimidated. I am not going to relent because the Lord is my strength. Thank you so much for listening until the end. I love you so much. Do take care of yourself. And until next time, hey, before I forget, go on our website. So many amazing articles. www.youngandindependent.com. I'm going to link it in the description box of this podcast. And on Facebook, we are Young and Independent People. On YouTube, amazing videos. You don't want to miss them. Fantastic books. YouTube is Young and Independent. And on Instagram, Young and Independent 35. Until next time, for the last time, do take care. Bye-bye.